Okay, welcome to basic Flutter. So this is basically just to give you the very fundamental Flutter and how to actually, one is to create new Flutter project, and second is basically to really understand the structure of a Flutter code. And so my assumption is that your computer is basically ready with all the required Flutter SDK, Android SDK, because we want to develop for mobile application. But you can also use web such as Chrome if you want to test the code. If you are running on low performance computer, make sure that either you select your Android virtual device to the lowest setting, uh, which help in terms of performance, or you can use your own Android device, which is allow for your application to compile directly to your device, or you can use Chrome, Google Chrome, run as a web application. For basic purposes, should be no problem. Today we're going to look into that. So to create new Flutter project, you can just choose from the command palette here, and then create new Flutter project. And from the selection here, you can see a number of options available. So choose the first one. So here you can create, you can select which location that you want to work with. So for example, like if I have one folder here, I'm going to create Flutter A241 for your current semester. And everything is going to be inside here. So this is the folder that I want to create with, and provide the name of your application. Okay, so once your application created, so by default, you'll be given with the following default code, and all your code is basically in the main.dart. So I'm going to increase the size of a Visual Studio Code for easy view. All right, so what you have here, this is the folder. This is where your project browser, Explorer. So all your code is in the lib main.dart file. And this is your default code. And I'm going to remove all the comment from the code here first. And yeah, just to make things easier, so I'm going to work from I'm going to remove everything just to make things easier, right? So I'm going to remove all these, and we're going to work from zero, from empty, right? So I'm going to put it somewhere, so just for easy access later on. So this is basically an empty Flutter code. So whenever you have you created new Flutter project, so usually you'll be given with that default code. But I'm going to start with an empty Flutter code, empty Dart code, which is going to work from there. So all Flutter project basically you're going to start with the following. So we're going to have the first one is the init, or the entry point for the for any Flutter application, which is the void main method. So this is basically equivalent to Android for example in Java, to public static void main. So I'm going to use these and put it here. So this is basically your public static void main. So this is basically your application is going to run, and this will require. So for example, here you are missing the required import. So which is to import the following. So you have three options that you can use. So usually we're going to use the material.dart. So this basically will allow us to import or to use the material Flutter library. Okay, so here we have a run app, basically um, another functions. So this function basically is calling or creating or calling a class. So here we don't have yet this class. This is the class called my app. So definitely we need the class. So the class is my app. So we're going to create class for the my app. So the definition for the class is class. The class name here is my app, and it's basically extend. Okay, so the keyword that we're going to use here is to extend extend. We call it as stateless widget. Okay, open curly bracket and close curly bracket. So this is basically the class that we're going to call. So the class basically extend to stateless widget, and this is a class for the main to call. All right, but this class will require a few things, which is sorry, the class shouldn't have this. All right, so this is the class. And the class require one missing override, so we need to add this override method, which is the build method. Okay, so it require the build method for the my app class. So for now, let's remove the constant for the my app. And the class here also require constructor, so we can add constructor to the class. So as we can see, the my app class now contain two elements, which is my app and the build method. All right, so this again will require constant. Return back the constant there. Now we have the basic element for building Flutter UI. Okay, so for constructor, so we leave it as it is. The one that we're going to focus on is on the override method, the build method function, which is a widget type, the UI widget. So the build here, which will require, so I'm going to remove the throw here. So build actually require which will require return widget. Okay, so in this case, we need to return material app. So the material app here is basically the fundamental or the initial layout of the what do you call it, the root for the application design. So we started with material app. So there's only one material app in this. No matter how many UI we have later on, it's going to be only one material app. All right, so inside this material app, we have a few parameters that we can add. One is title. So let's say we work with title demo. The second one is for the theme. Okay, so we can work with the theme here and the theme data. Okay, so the theme data that basically will be used to provide look and feel for the application. And the third one is the home for the application. So at the moment we don't have anything yet. But if we just want to build the basic UI, we can just straight away define or provide scaffold widget. All right, so we have ourselves a very basic Flutter application, which only consists of the following. So if you want to run this application, you should be able to run this. So let me try to run this on my AVD, Pixel 4 API 33. Okay, so run the project and wait for the application to compile for the first time and run on your AVD. So if you don't have your AVD or you're unable somehow to run your AVD, you can use Chrome, which you need to select from your list of available devices at the bottom down here. You can run on Chrome, which is a little bit, which is much faster, but at some point later on, you might encounter problems when we are dealing with database. All right, so basically now we are building the very fundamental of a basic Flutter page. Okay, so you should be able to get your application to run with the app debug. So now, as you can see, we have nothing. We have just an empty page. So this is what we call as a scaffold page. So for the scaffold page, basically defined in this home material app parameter, which is actually a scaffold widget. So all the white section here, this is all scaffold. So we can further define the scaffold with the necessary component. There are two components here that we have. So to make it easier, we can just enter on this and work within the scaffold. So the first element that if you want to have in an application is an app bar. So as we can see, you can use Control Spacebar to see what are the parameter available for scaffold. So you can see from there, you can select the appropriate parameter. So the first one that we need is the app bar itself. So for the app bar, it will require app bar widget. So we can just define on that. Okay, so that's the first thing. But you cannot see the app bar here yet. So you might want to update your team data. So for the team data, there are quite a number of themes. This is basically where you define your sort of CSS. All right, so for the theme data, for example, like we can just use a color scheme. Okay, you can use a color scheme for the theme data to define the color scheme for your application. So the theme data defined here will be used throughout the application. So for example, if you want to use color scheme from seed color deep purple. So this basically will be the default theme. And the other one is use material 3 set as true. So it means that your application basically going to use the latest Material 3 themes. All right, so that's basically the starter for the themes itself. For the title, this one you can change to anything. This one basically later on you can access this title through your application when you pause the application. Something like this. It's supposed to have names up here, but it's not there. All right, so from your app bar, okay, so from the app bar itself, you can set up a few things. Like say you want to color your app bar, so you can set the background color. Okay, so the background color you can use, even if you want to use your own color, or you can define the color from the theme. There's a theme there. Or you can define your own color, define through the colors dot deep purple. But I think I'm going to use theme color scheme. Hold on. Supposed to be just a straightaway color. Okay, so theme off. Sorry, so it means that this will we're going to be based on the color of the themes that we choose here. We define in the theme data. Okay, so you can define here theme of context color scheme. So the color scheme here you can choose from the default the theme default. So let's say you want to use the primary color, you can define as on primary color. So it means that it will use primary color for the app bar. Um, primary. This one is inverse primary. This is the inverse primary of the deep purple. So when you change, let's say to yellow, for example, the seed color doesn't actually follow that. Not quite sure. It's supposed to inverse the primary from the color scheme, but it didn't seems to. This one is deep purple, but if I choose supposed to have that on primary or just a primary color. Oh yeah, the primary color here. So it means that you will choose the primary color of deep purple here, the same one. So if I choose like yellow, I'm not quite sure if I can get this right, but I didn't actually follow that. I'm not quite sure why. The color scheme that I choose for the background color, this is from seed. The color scheme that I choose supposed to follow the yellow, but it didn't. Not sure why that, but yeah, never mind. So either if you choose primary or you choose a different, let's say on error, on primary, on secondary color. So this is secondary color, but it didn't have anything on the secondary. Might need to define that for from the team data. So on the color scheme that I choose from seed. So you do have like on primary container. So they're supposed to have that. This is basically like similar to your CSS. Okay. So you can see the options available on secondary, on tertiary. So secondary color on tertiary color. Is there any? It's on tertiary container. So you got that color, but we might need to look into the color schemes that basically available from the material. So I'm not used to this much for the use material 3. All right, so never mind on that. So you can just choose a different color. Choose like primary color. So that is basically the primary color for the background for the app bar. All right, so now the second element required basically body. So we can choose body. And body will require widget. So here we need a widget. So the widget basically will contain the entire element of the white section from the scaffold here. So for example, if you use just let's say just a text widget. So this is just a text widget. Hello world, right? So it means that the whole body here can only have one widget, which is hello world. All right, so there's another thing that I forgot to add here, which is the title. So the title require text widget. Okay, so that you can label your app bar up here. So for the body section, as we can see, we need more items inside here. So instead of you can only add one, so you might want to add more items. So definitely there are two primary widgets that we're going to use, which is column and row. So for example, like for a column widget, which basically allow us to accept what we call as a children, sorry. So inside column widget, we can have children, parameter which is defined in the array. So for children, it basically allows us to accept multiple items, multiple widget here. So you can have more widget inside here. So let's say Flutter is fun, and we can just take the second one. Flutter is fun, Flutter is fun. So it means that you can have something like this. So all this is basically just a constant because we didn't There's no variable or changes to the Flutter to the value. Okay, so this basically allow us to have column type element. So the column itself can be further modified, which is a certain parameter that we can control. And again, you can use control spacebar. So you can see a number of options available for you to use with column. So for example, if you use the main axis alignment, so the main axis alignment basically comes with main axis alignment. You can set everything to center. That basically will set all the widgets, children widget available to the column to the center at the bottom, at the center down here. So if you want to have that, so that's basically how it works. If you want to, for example, you can just main axis alignment. You can space around, just playing with that, or you can just use space evenly. So those are the options available that basically will evenly space out your column into a much structured space evenly for all the widgets of children's here. So then, if you want to have your widget to the right, so you can use row. So row is another widget, a great widget for you to learn to use, which also allow you to add children's to the right. So instead of as a column, you can have your children to the right. So for example, inside a row, I'm going to have row um, row 1. So let's say row 2. I'm going to have more here. So this is, I'm going to have like row 3, and then text, row 4. Okay. So you can have something at the bottom down here because the row is basically sit at the bottom. And the same with row, you can further control the way that your row looks. So for example here, one parameter that you can use, main axis alignment. So another main axis alignment space evenly so that you can get something like this. So you can play around. You can say like, I'm going to put like somewhere at the first row up there. Okay, so something like that. Okay, so in the first row, something like this. At the bottom down here, also this. Okay, so this is just a playing around with a column and row, which allow you to have greater control in terms how your widget is going to be placed. So let's say I'm going to add another one at the center here. So, right, so just trying to understand how row and columns works. Okay, so row, columns, row is basically like similar to like table arrangement, but yeah, playing around, understand how each of these elements basically can be placed around inside Flutter, inside the body section here. Okay, so I'm going to stop here. I hope I'm not going to expand this a lot later on. I'm going to talk about the input, process, and output, which is a form. But get used to this. Try to understand this. Really, just get used to row, column, text. Understand how to put here. How to play around with the parameter. And this is basically just for stateless widgets, which means that whatever state that you have here cannot be changed throughout the execution of the application, the run during the